December is full of opportunity. Some of my fondest memories growing up when I was a teenager, first getting into deer hunting in 1985. Incredible memories all the way back then. It's amazing. I'm 54 years old that I can still remember back that far, but I can. And it's because some of those hunting memories are burned in my brain. Hunting with good friends back then, Mike and John Pratt. Mike, to this day, he was with us in Minnesota deer season, his 5th season in a row out here with us, childhood friend from Michigan. So a lot of great times hunting the snow and a lot of mishaps, a lot of bow hunting in December, a lot of opportunity for just getting out in the woods. I can remember that still time of the year. There's no birds, not hearing any wildlife. It's cold, no traffic. You're out in the woods and you can just hear the ringing in your ears, basically. You're just hearing this sound. It's almost like a distant static. And that's that sound of wintertime, you know, of hunting in December. It's peaceful, it's calm, and that extends to this day. It's one of my favorite times to hunt. And it's just because it's full of opportunity. And it's a lot different. You know, October, yeah, you have the rut. In the beginning, you have the early season and a lot of openers in the beginning of October. Pretty much similar weather. But when you start getting into the snows, the big winds, ultimate cold, deer gravitating to leftover food sources or some of the only food sources in the area, hitting heavy cover, and then you throw in the second rut, it's just a lot going on in a compact, short period of time, kind of a microcosm of the whole season, and really, really need to get out there and enjoy it. And I'll mention this first one right here, the second rut. This is when, boy, I can even remember even into January, 3rd rut in Wisconsin, but seeing that dirt and leaves thrown on top of the snow. Sometimes you see it from a long ways away. So you have 3, 4, 5 inches of snow, 7 inches of snow, and there's these big overworked scrapes that stink, and they're all worked up, and you know they're fresh because the snow was just there 2 days ago. It just snowed. Awesome time. And far too many, I mentioned this, and anything I mention with the second rut, it's the most missed portion of deer hunting in the woods. It really is. So many hunters miss it. They're either done or they don't recognize it. They don't realize it's a thing. And it is for about the top or the north 2/3 of the country, whitetail states, which is a pretty high percentage of all whitetail states. So second rut, I have lots of videos on the second rut, even shot one recently. There's a lot of videos I have out there. I encourage you to make sure that you don't miss out on those, because the second rut is a time that I hang my hat on. I enjoy filling some of my late tags during the second rut, whether it's muzzleloader or bow, and some of my most enjoyable times to be in the woods. And I have a recent video talking about how to stay warm, tricks for staying warm in the deer stand. Make sure to check that out, because staying warm is a real thing. Down here, number 6 in the deer stand, you can watch that expanded video about that. It's really, really critical, and that'll help you enjoy December. That's frankly why a lot of people don't go out in December. Second rut, plan on it. Peak rut around here, 4th, 6th, 8th, 2nd of November. Fast forward 30 days. That's that time for that second rut. First part of December, last few days of November. You get down, I'm not going to list every state, but when you get into Tennessee, maybe West Virginia, Kentucky down there, you could back that up by 7 to 10 days. Southeast Ohio, maybe 5 to 7 days. Southern Illinois, you know, our 5th, 6th peak rut might be your 10th, 11th peak rut. Northern Missouri, Southern Iowa. Kansas is more like probably mid-December is that second rut, but rest assured it's coming in December, and you better plan for it and enjoy it, because it's an awesome time to get out. What's really cool about it is muzzy and bow. So for all your bow hunters that didn't connect, you still have a tag, great to hunt December, huge opportunity. And what I find is, because deer are really pinpointing on precise movements to leftover food that's unpressured from leftover cover, to me, you can get on those deer a lot closer with a bow than maybe someone with a more random movements in October or even during the rut, because they're going from point A to point B. There's not a lot of good cover left over that's unpressured, or good food sources that are either left or unpressured. So great time to get on with a bow, get up close and personal. And then, of course, muzzleloader. If you haven't muzzleloader hunted, we have some muzzleloader tip videos out there. I try to, I don't want to say dumb it down for you, because I use these tips too. We sight our muzzleloaders in, just for example, we're sighting them in at about 150 yards. We're sighting them in at 150. Puts us a couple inches high at 100. And then at 200, it means they're about 11, 12 inches low. And so it really gives us a 200-yard gun where we're holding on the deer somewhere. We're not having to hold off the deer good distance or anything like that. When I've sighted in at 100, then you're talking more like, depending on your load and your the grain of sabot you're using, then you could be 15 inches low, would be like more of a 250 grain, 240 grain sabot. If you're using 300 or 300 plus, that could be more like 17, 18. So you have to start holding over the body at that point for a deer that's closer to 200. Know your trajectory. The cool thing about muzzleloading is by the time you put everything together, the loads and the sabots, you're not going to shoot it dozens of times. I usually shoot mine 25, 30 times. I've already shot them this year probably 7 times. And we're not even in muzzleloader season. I like shooting them a lot. There's some pretty easy tips for keeping your gun clean, developing a regiment where you can do the same thing. You can expect the same performance. You can expect your same groups. We're getting usually anywhere from 2 to 3 inch groups at 150. And that's what we sight in. We're only using 100 grains of powder. We're simplifying everything. We're not making it that we're going to go out here and enter a muzzleloader competition and shoot at 300 and some yards. We're making our guns very capable out to 250, and we go and expect that. So great opportunity to get a muzzleloader, extend your season from 10 days to 2 weeks. Enjoy that for this time of year. It's a lot of fun. Food sources are critical. I'll say food because if you have great cover, but there's not a great food source nearby, those deer will move, especially older bucks. They're the ones that have the big home range. They're willing to travel a mile or two to find good food that's standing. So if you don't have great food, your great cover doesn't mean much. However, if you put both of them together, that's key. Late season food sources. Might be a food plot, might be a clear cut on public land, might be a stand of oaks, apples somewhere that's left over, hidden, and hard to reach. And never discount a good swamp edge where it meets a diversity of habitat, upland cover, shrubs, hardwood regen, conifers, briars, weeds, grasses, down to red osier dogwood, cedars, conifer spruce swamps, whatever it is, and you have that mixture. That's a really good hot spot to look for, especially on public land. Loads of browse. And what I just mentioned was a bunch of browse. So when you combine great food and then you have great cover is high stem count cover, meaning briars, goldenrod, ragweed, grasses, switchgrass on private land, shrubs, trees, the hardwood regen, occasional conifers. All that put together gives you a lot of browse and a lot of cover and also a lot of thermal protection that breaks the wind, and they can actually get into an area and stay warm. So when you combine that with good food sources and it's all unpressured, which is probably less than 5-10% of the area where you hunt, then man, it doesn't matter if it's on public or private land, you put those two together and you're going to have a hot spot to hunt in December. Staging areas can be incredible. You have that food source they're going to. If you spook out that, now the bedding areas are done. Doesn't matter if you have great bedding areas, but if you don't have a food source because you spook it out or it's non-existent, they're not going to be in those bedding areas. So once you spook out that food source, your cover is dead. So I'd rather sit off of that food source, 100 yards, 80 yards, hunt deer as they're going to it. And that typically is in and around that staging area where there's a lot of rubs or a lot of scrapes. It's before they step out into the food. And I find a lot of late season bucks will hit a spot like that. And you might be surprised how early they'll hit it before stepping out on that food source just after dark or right at dark, or if even at all. They're still circling through that thick cover. And that's where I like to hunt them. And that preserves your food source, which is ultimately the name of the game. Again, food is great to focus on, but if you spook it out, it's a waste. And again, tips and tricks for staying warm. The head is so critical. I use multiple layers on my head. A lot of times I'm using like this furnace hoodie right here from First Light. It's heavy merino wool. I'm using over a thin merino wool face mask. I can pull a hood up over that. I can put a stocking cap over that. You have your neck warm with a neck, with the zipper and the zipped in neck. Keeps you warm. So there's a lot of tips and tricks for staying warm. Check out some of my other videos that have to do with that. And by the way, First Light, their Black Friday sale, all the way from November 21st to December 2nd. Make sure you check out the link in the description. It's up to 40% off. A lot of great items, too many to list here. And appreciate you following all the way to the end of the video. You're the ones I want to make sure I mentioned these deals through First Light because they're outstanding to take advantage of. Some outstanding clothing. And yeah, good clothing costs a lot of money, but it lasts for decades. And it costs a lot of money because there's a lot of thought into how those clothing and how that gear is built, how it's built for you in a bow stand, let alone a gun stand, how it's supposed to keep you warm, dry, and comfortable, most of all comfortable, because if you're not comfortable in December, you're not going to hunt. It keeps a lot of people out of the woods. So check out that sale, but at the same time, check out these tips and make sure you get out in December and enjoy a great cold weather, late season, December opportunity this year.